Hey there, Red Sox fans. Alex Barth and Matt McCarthy with you for another Red Sox CLNS roundtable. We're focusing on pitching today, specifically one pitcher, and that is Drew Pomeranz. What to do with Drew, Matt? That is the million-dollar question. His DL time is about to run up. You figured there'll be a rehab start here or there, but is there a spot left for him when he returns in the Red Sox rotation? Is he going to the bullpen? Is there a third option that we're not even considering? What do you do with Drew?
You put him in the bullpen. It's really that simple, Alex. There is no spot for him in the starting rotation right now. Stephen Wright has clearly proven that he deserves to be in the rotation. There's nobody else who deserves to come out of the rotation at this point. Eddie Rodriguez has given you more than enough this year, and obviously your top three guys you're not going to mess with: Porcello, Price, or Chris Sale. So there is no spot for Drew Pomeranz in the rotation. The thing is, though, I think there is a good role for him in the bullpen. They need more bullpen arms. They need more options against left-handed hitters out of the bullpen. Drew Pomeranz spent about half of his career in the big leagues as a bullpen guy. So I think this is a pretty easy decision for the Red Sox. When he comes back, you put him in the bullpen. It's really that simple. If they want to go six-man one time through the rotation to kind of give everybody else a spell, particularly Chris Sale. We know how good Chris Sale is when he has that extra rest. If they want to do that every once in a while, I'm more than fine with that, particularly in a week where you have an off day so you can get guys 7 days off before they pitch again. I'm totally okay with that. But for his main role, he needs to be coming out of the bullpen and see if he can figure it out and see if he can develop a role in the bullpen, because they need more guys like that. Because if Drew Pomeranz comes back and all of a sudden pitches well for you out of the pen, you don't have to go add somebody to fill that role at the deadline. They're already going to have enough needs at the deadline in the first place. If you can fill one of those internally, absolutely do it.
Well, then let me flip this on you here, because I do have some doubts about Drew Pomeranz in the bullpen, and I know he can eat up pitches, and they do need a lefty arm, but like you mentioned, they have a lot of needs. Do you think that they could use Drew Pomeranz as trade bait? Because they're going to need, it looks like, a catcher, possibly another outfielder. Do you maybe trade Pomeranz and get a guy who's a little more established in the bullpen? And there's some names that have been thrown out there, and we'll talk about that in a later roundtable. You keep an eye out for those on the CLNS YouTube page and on @RedSoxCLNS on Twitter. But I'm wondering if Pomeranz has any trade value left. If what he did in the second half of last season, if some team maybe says that, maybe a team in a pitcher's park, maybe a team in the National League sees that and says, you know what? We can fix this guy. We'll overpay for him a little bit because we still think we can get him for value.
So I wouldn't rule that out, because there is always value for starting pitchers, even starting pitchers who suck, which is what Drew Pomeranz has been, a starting pitcher who has sucked this year. The thing is, though, he's in the final year of his deal, right? So if I'm not mistaken, I'm very certain that he's in the final year of his deal.
I believe you're correct.
So what's the value to a team if you're a contending team? I mean, I guess maybe Drew Pomeranz has value to you, but are you really going to give up all that much for him? The point being is, I think Drew Pomeranz likely has more value to the Red Sox than he does to just about anybody else, because you're not going to. One of the reasons the Red Sox had to pay so much for Drew Pomeranz a few years ago was the fact that he had term and he was cost controlled. Well, he doesn't have term anymore. He's not going to be cost controlled, because we know what pitchers get on the open market, even pitchers as perhaps as unreliable as Drew Pomeranz. So I don't necessarily rule out the possibility of them trading him. And yes, he is a free agent after this year. Just double checked on that, and that is true. But I just have a hard time seeing another team being willing to pay enough for him then it makes it worth it for the Red Sox to deal him.
The thing I worry about with Pomeranz, and the number I want to throw out there, I saw this the other day on Twitter. I think he's fifth last in the league in average innings per start amongst starters with at least 8 games. I think he's at like 3 and change. I don't even think he's averaging 4 innings a start. But then to move him to the bullpen mid-season, we saw this. We've seen this with guys before with the Red Sox. It takes them longer to warm up. There's a transitional period. I wonder if they could find another contending team, maybe Seattle, maybe a team in the National League that's pushing for a wild card spot, and say, look, you have a good bullpen. You need starting pitching. We have starting pitching. We need a bullpen guy, and maybe, you know, two contending teams help each other. I'm not sold that there's a role for Drew Pomeranz even in the bullpen with the Red Sox. I'd rather see them go externally and get a true reliever. And I'm done with this guy in the rotation. I really am. I don't think there's any reason, unless it's late in the year, like you said, they need an extra day of rest. But a competitive baseball game, like a true competitive game, not the day before road trip, you know, day getaway game. You're like, all right, whatever. If we lose, we lose. We'll get some guys some rest. No, a real competitive baseball game. I don't want to see Drew Pomeranz starting another one of those for the Red Sox because he's not going to pitch well, and he's going to test your bullpen. And we've seen that with the Red Sox these last couple of weeks. Their bullpen's not nearly as deep as we thought. They've had to stretch a lot of guys out that they didn't expect they were going to have to stretch out. One more thing, Matt, here before we wrap this up. Let's say Pomeranz does go to the bullpen. Let's say he's traded, whatever. Let's say he's not an option as a starter. The Red Sox, is no secret, I've been harping on it since day one of spring training, since pitchers and catchers reported. The organizational depth at the starting pitcher spot is not good at all. They don't have a lot of guys there with major league experience. So if Pomeranz is out of the equation and then a starter does go down, there's Velazquez and there's Johnson, but those guys have grown into pretty key roles in the bullpen as well. Where are we going after that? Is Jalen Beeks coming back up for another start? Do they go another direction? What happens if you take Pomeranz out of the equation? Who gets bumped up a spot on the starting pitcher depth chart?
It's Velazquez, and I'm going to wholeheartedly disagree about the Red Sox starting pitching depth. I think they have more starting pitching depth than the majority of teams in baseball because, again, Pomeranz is a
quality starting pitching depth.
Okay, so name me a team that has a quality seventh starter.
All right, you got me there. I don't know seven starters like you, but my point is
that's my point. Nobody
when the Red Sox have been at their best, I feel like there's always a guy either in the bullpen or in Pawtucket that can come up and make a start and give you a chance to win a game. Velazquez is in a key role in the bullpen right now, so I'm not including him. And yeah, I'm kind of moving the goalpost for my argument here. But let's say for whatever reason, I don't know, Chris Sale has a blister, Rick Porcello's hamstrings acting up. You need a starter on 1 day's notice. Vasquez pitched out of the bullpen yesterday's day, and Pomeranz the day before that. Who are you calling up? Who's that guy that you're going to go to and say, okay, we need this one. We need you to make the start. It's a big game. We're giving you the ball short notice. Go. Who is, because the Red Sox, I feel like, have always had that guy when they're at their best. I don't see that guy on the team this year. I thought it was going to be Brian Johnson. I've been wrong about that. And I don't think it's Jalen Beeks.
It's Hector Velazquez. That's the true answer. Now, obviously, certain situations.
Right, I just gave you a very specific situation. I'm trying to put you in a corner here.
The night before, I mean, listen, I guess those things happen. I mean, the Jalen Beeks could have pitched the night before in Pawtucket too. So, like, okay, well, congratulations, Heath Hembree, you're starting today. Like, I mean, that's yeah, and we're gonna go true bullpen like the Tampa Bay Rays do essentially every day. Their starting pitching depth is fine. It's very good because listen, in a spot start, you wouldn't have a problem if Hector Velazquez made a spot start for this team, would you?
No, I'd like to see him make more starts before Stephen Wright heated up. I wanted Velazquez in the starting rotation.
And if Pomeranz is in the bullpen, and he's your seventh option, and you're like, man, okay, we're short. We gotta, Chris Sale has a blister, whatever. Drew Pomeranz also won 17 games last year, so their starting pitching depth is fine because any other team, I mean, they're calling up, the Kyle Kendricks of the world. Like, Drew Pomeranz has been bad, but he's not that bad. Hector Velazquez is certainly better than, these Sean O'Sullivans or like just these bums that the Red Sox have trotted out in recent years. Listen, they can do a hell of a lot worse. But again, if you're getting to your eighth starter on a consistent basis, you have bigger problems. So I think their starting pitching depth is fine. I do. I'm not concerned.
Sullivan, that's a hell of a reference. Matt McCarthy hosts the Hardcore Baseball Podcast for 98.5 The Sports Hub. Thanks for taking me to the woodshed here on this Patriots Roundtable. If you want to check out any more, stay posted for future roundtables. Follow us on Twitter at Red Sox CLNS. Check us out online at clnsmedia.com. Thanks for watching.
Always good to put you in the blender, Alex.